y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're a new subscriber, let me know in the comments down below how you found me. If you're a return subscriber, thank you for tuning back in to see my face. As y'all can tell by the title of this video, we are doing everything wrong with Pretty Little Liars. Y'all should have known it was coming. We did Teen Wolf. We did the originals. Did I do the originals? No, I think that's a future video. Did I do the originals? Oh, I'm thinking about the originals from Everything Wrong plot. But whatever, y'all. Let's go ahead and get straight into the video. Okay, y'all. My first issue, or the first thing wrong with Pretty Little Liars, is Marlene King. If you don't know who Marlene King is, she was the primary writer slash showrunner slash producer for Pretty Little Liars, all right? Even with having a book to follow and guide her, she decided to completely ignore the books and just do whatever she wanted. And I feel like, hey, if you're going to do whatever you want, at least do it right. She was literally winging the show the entire time. It don't make any type of sense that you have to do an entire interview after your series finale to explain to the audience, why wasn't this resolved? Why wasn't that resolved? Like, because she was winging it and she never planned out what she was doing, it ended up leaving so many plot holes and left so many things unanswered. Like, can that lady set up a story to get your attention? Yes. But can she actually complete the story? No. And I feel like that's something a lot of writers do struggle with. I know I struggle with it. I'll have the beginning of how I want it set up. I have the middle of everything going on, but sometimes it's hard to finish a story. But I'm not publishing any work that's unfinished. This is a literal show. It's a mystery that requires your audience to pay attention. But, you know, you have all these plot holes. You have these audience. Like, I felt like she was so busy trying to outsmart everybody. It ended up just making the show completely dumb. And I was watching Friendly Space Ninja's video on Pretty Little Liars, and where he broke down the timeline of the show. Oh my God, you're telling me season 3, all of season 4, and then part of season 5 literally all takes place in the span of 2 months? 2 months? Like, I feel like if there doesn't need to be a timeline, there doesn't need to be a timeline. Like, honestly, of course they're in high school, so there has to be like a semi-timeline, but I felt like she could have easily sped up season 5 to where it was like maybe the end of senior year, so it could have been spanned over a year or something instead of 2 months. Like, I don't know. And then, like, even like with simple stuff, like, you could tell she didn't know Mona was gonna be A, because if she would have, instead of making Mona this big burly person like in all the other, you know, like, you know how at the end of each episode you would get to see a clip of A, you know, before we found out who they were. I'm pretty sure she was just having whoever like act as A, but like A was always this big burly figure, and then you find out it's Mona, and it's like, how is it Mona? Mona's literally the shortest person on the entire cast, but when we see A is taller than all of them and all this other stuff. Like, the only time I felt like there was an indication that it was Mona was when Hannah got ran over by a car, simply because Mona had a black hoodie on and she was late to Hannah getting hit and the ambulance arriving. That's the only time I felt like I ever knew, okay, yeah, this makes sense that this was Mona. Other than that, it did not make any type of sense. Or like even at the end, right, when, you know, AD's a thing, Mona literally is in the, you know, mental asylum after they found out she killed Charlotte. And she was like, it's you. I should have known it was you, when like AD comes to see her. But then later on in the future episode, she keeps telling AD, I want to know who you are. I want to know who you are. And like, even if she was hooked up on medicine, why was she, unless AD was wearing a mask, which they never specified, how would she know that it was Spencer's evil twin, unless she automatically just assumed it was Spencer doing all the evil deed, and which would have been a good twist on top of that anyways. But like, Marlene just, I don't know, like, you can't have a mystery show, which your entire premise is your fans paying like a lot of attention to it, just for you to make so many like plot holes. Like, already having a show with so many characters is hard, you know, trying to make sure everybody gets screen time and good storylines. But the fact that she would add in storylines that had nothing to do with the plot, that would have the characters doing nothing that aided to the story, just to drop it at the tip of a hat. And she never made anything permanent. Mona being dead wasn't permanent. Ezra's kid wasn't permanent. Like, nothing was ever permanent. Them killing people did nothing for their character development. Like, dog, I think each one of them got a body under their belt except Spencer. But all the rest of them have bodies under their belt. And when I say bodies, I mean bodies. But yet they act like it never happened. After like an episode, they're like, yeah, I'm good. Like, bro, what? No. Like, literally, like, nothing could ever be permanent. Like, even the whole idea of Allison could not be permanent. Like, I couldn't just leave her dead. Like, I don't feel like they had to bring her back to life. I don't. And, like, even, like, I don't know. Like, this, I feel like the books already had a good premise. They could have just went with it. Of course, you know, you would have switched up a couple things here and there. But other than that, like, when I hadn't read the books when I watched the show, but somebody like basically told me how the entire book series went, and I was just like, that would have been marvelous to see on screen. Marvelous. Like, bro. And then there's the fact that, you know, Pretty Little Liars, of course it was heavily geared towards teenagers, even with its, like, you know, very like gruesome topics of like being stalked and tortured and all this stuff, but like they never handled serious issues well on the show. Hannah had a whole eating disorder, like this girl had an eating disorder, and y'all did not even because you know Hannah would binge and then she would purge, right? After like 2 days of somebody being like, no, Hannah, you shouldn't do that, she just stops. It doesn't work like that. Eating disorders a lot of times are things that people cannot control unless they have help and constant, you know, supervision and aid. And like, it was just so poorly done that like, no. And they didn't even like, at the end of the episode, they didn't even like link any resources or anything for, you know, people to check out. Like it was just done irresponsibly. Even like, Spencer's like drug addiction, like it was semi-handled better because, you know, her parents got her a rehab coach, and she, in the previous, from what we heard from her parents, she did go to rehab the first time it happened. But like the way it's done is just very poorly. Like it's just kind of like they make her stop cold turkey, and then like the sponsor is there for like all of 2-3 episodes, which maybe be like a week, 2 weeks, and then it's like it's done, and it's just like it's handled poorly, and it's not ever really talked about how, you know, relapses do happen, and even if you don't relapse, every day is a struggle. Like eating disorders and addictions are very similar in the sense of like people can relapse, and it's very detrimental to your health, but like they treat it as if like, oh, it's a one and done, like we just use it for this, you know, little plot device, and then now we're done with it, so we're gonna toss it aside. And it's like that's very, you know, irresponsible. Real life doesn't work like that. And some people might see stuff like that and be like, okay, yeah, I can stop whenever I want. Like, just like how the characters stop. Like, you might think, okay, who would think that? But there are young children that are consuming this type of media. And, like, if they're seeing that these characters are just bouncing back like it's nothing, they're going to assume they can do the same. And that ends up putting somebody in harm's way completely. So, like, yeah, I just felt like that was irresponsibly done. Serious topics like that should be handled with care, and resources should be provided. I don't understand. Like, that's ridiculous to me. Y'all, the biggest gripe that I have with Pretty Little Liars is the amount of pedophilia in the show. Like, as a teen, watching it as a teenager, you don't really like pay too much attention to it, but watching it as a 21-something-year-old, you kind of just are disgusted by it. First, we have Arya and you know, Ezra Fitz, you know what I'm saying? At first, you're kind of like, okay, he didn't know, right? But he continues to date her and talk to her, and like throughout the entire show, everybody kept saying, oh, he's your teacher, and I'm like, yeah, that's an issue, but even if he wasn't her teacher, it still wouldn't be okay. This is a grown man. He's graduated college, meaning you're at least 22, and we start their junior year of high school, so she's like 16, maybe turning 17, but you know, we never really get any birthdays for the girls, so like, 17 and 22 is still not okay. I mean, 16 and 22 is still not okay. She is a minor. She is a child. Like, that's not cool. And the fact that people would only mention that he was her teacher bugged the ever living daylights out of me, because like, why is that the only gripe y'all have? Why do y'all not have an issue with the fact that this is a 22-year-old man interested in a 16-year-old child? And you know what? It's one thing if it was a one-off offense. It's not really okay if it was a one-off offense. Either way it went. But it's the fact that you come to find out later in the show, Mr. Fitz was having a relationship with Allison while he was still in college. And you're thinking, okay, he's in college, but mind you, when that took place, it was either 8th or 9th grade for Allison, so she's maybe 14, 15. And he's like 21 or something like that at the time. That's not okay. This wasn't a one-off situation. And he was like, oh, Allison lied about her age. I refuse to believe you did not see that this child was a child from the way that she talked. And like, I know Allison's supposed to be like this master manipulator, but after he finds out, because, she goes missing and her age and names and stuff is like put out into the public. After he found that out, he actively pursued Arya in the name of getting a story and seeing that Allison wasn't really dead. Like, he knew Arya's age and still pursued her. Pedophile. And then they reward this behavior by having him marry her in the end. When what's really should have happened, the way it happened in the books, was Ezra gets found out very quickly, goes to jail. I think he's released from jail, but in the books, he's always seen as a creep. But in the show, they try and romanticize it to make you root for them, and I'm not here for it. And like, moving on from Ezra, then we have Arya and Jason. Like, yeah, it happened. Like, they officially got together after she graduated high school and she was an adult, I guess. But they had like this weird sort of kind of, we're trying to maybe see if it's a relationship throughout the show before she was graduating. I can't. And then there was that Step Up dude, the guy from Step Up, who was like her karate self-defense teacher. Like, why are these grown men interested in little kids? And we know Ezra's the biggest offender. But then we also have Ren, who was dating Melissa, right? But kissing on Spencer. No one saw an issue with this grown man. He's in medical school, meaning he's graduated college and he is now in medical school. And mind you, he said he was doing like an internship. So I'm assuming you're at least in your second or third year, right? You're maybe a second or third year med student, meaning you're about 23, 24, hitting on a 16-year-old child. And the only issue anyone had in the show with them together is the fact that he was with Melissa first. That was the only issue they had, that he was with Melissa first. Not the fact that he's 24, 23, 24, hitting on a 16 and kissing on a 16-year-old child. And it's not a one-off offense for him either, because what happened later on in the show, he kissed Hannah and he was trying to have a thing with Hannah. Like, it's not a one-off offense for him. And that's what's weird. Oh my God. And then we had later in the season, Hannah didn't like him, but Arya's mom's boyfriend, whoever the heck that man was, hitting on her. And I can't remember if they were graduated or not. I think they were about to graduate, but they hadn't graduated yet, because I think this was when Hannah was like on her little alcoholic phase or whatever. So they were like still in senior year. And Arya slut shamed her. Like, girl, you with a whole pedophile. I can't, I'm not going to blame a minor. She was groomed. But like, he really got to her head thinking Hannah would ever in her life do that. Like, and I guarantee you, Ren would have got with Hannah if Hannah had not said no. Okay? And then we had, I forgot, I don't know why, but Emma from H2O, who was on the show, she played Samara. I don't know why. I assume Samara was like another teenager from like a different high school. But come to find out, Samara was a whole grown woman. She did not have a club at another high school. No, she actively made a club with these grown women. And then Samara's friends also hit on Emily. Like, you're a grown woman messing with a child, and then your friends are also hitting on this child. Like, representation was cool and all, but y'all couldn't just say they was from another high school. Y'all had to make them a grown woman. Like, I don't understand what this little weird dynamic they be trying to do with grown men and young girls and grown women and a young child. Like, and even in real life, I'm sorry, like, I understand acting is acting, but having, Shay Mitchell kiss Sasha Peterson, I forgot her last name. I know it started with a P. Sasha P. That's a no-no for me because she was a minor. She was a whole child. They filmed the pilot. She got the job when she was like 12. I think they filmed season 1 when she was like 13 or so. So y'all having Shay, who was like 21 at the time, kissing a 13-year-old child, not for me. Not for me. Y'all could have easily showed them having feelings for each other or whatever a whole nother way. Maybe a kiss on the cheek and then Allison being like, no, but like a 13-year-old child kissing a 21-year-old child, yeah, it's acting and, you know, but it's still wrong. I don't care if it's woman and woman, man and man, girl and boy. Like, no, it's wrong. Grown people should not be kissing children, whether it's fictional or in real life. No, it gotta go. I almost left out Ian. Oh my God, Ian. First of all, you messed with Allison, a 16-year-old child, and then you messed with Spencer, a 16-year-old child. But they were less than 16 at this time, right? Because obviously, you know, it was before, like in the flashbacks, but like they were still grown, like in college and stuff. So I'm like, again, pedophile. And the fact that him and that whole NAT club and them was recording these young children, sick. And then he was recording Jenna and freaking Toby. Like, you literally are seeing this boy get sexually assaulted by his sister, and you letting it slide because you're a pedophile with a weird fetish. And the fact that Garrett, who was also part of the NAT club, sat there and got with Jenna knowing that she was a sexual assaulter. I don't know why people didn't start calling Jenna what she is. She sexually assaulted Toby. She literally is it coerced? I can't remember the specific word, but she literally was like, who do you think they're going to believe, me or you? You won't have to have sex with me. Like, and then, you know what? Jenna and Garrett belong together. Even though he was a grown man with a child, they was assaulter and pedophile. Be done with them. Like, I think it's kind of ironic Jenna went blind. It reminds me of the Oedipus Rex complex and how she would go blind and she slept with her son. Well, she went blind for sleeping with her brother. Boop boop. Like, no, none of these people are to be trusted. Like, none of these characters are really redeemable. Like, even within the main four, they always had their flaws, but that's neither here nor there. You know, let's move on. I still don't mess with Aria for slut shaming Hannah, telling my son, oh, you must have had him, you must have flirted with him. Girl, your mom's boyfriend is just a creep. And the fact that Ella said this is not the first time he's done something like this of going after young girls, because I guess when it was like in Europe, he was hitting on young girls. Ella, first of all, you letting your child date this being groomed by this grown man. Come to find out the man you was about to marry was hitting on young girls, probably children. Ella, I love Holly Mary Combs, especially because of her role in Charm. But her character in Pretty Little Liars need to be slapped. Because what do you have going on right now? What do you have going on? Okay. My next gripe with Pretty Little Liars is the A motives. Like, all of the A's, their motives made no sense. Okay, Mona was the best A reveal out of all of them. You know, I could sort of understand Mona's motive, but her motive at the same time did not make sense. Her motive for torturing the girls was the fact that, you know, they were stealing Hannah away from her again. But the thing about it is the girls did not come close. Even when Arya did move back, the girls did not start hanging out and being cool again until they started getting those A messages. So if anything, Mona drove Hannah into their arms. Like, I'm sorry to break it to you, honey, but they wasn't even getting back close until you started sending them messages. So, like, but her motive makes the most sense to me. Like, she was tortured and tormented by these girls since middle school all the way up into high school, up until Allison disappeared. And then, you know, she gets a transformation. And then, you know, one of the girls ends up leaving. And then when she comes back, people try to act like stuff is cool and it ain't. So, yeah, like, I understand her motivation, but, like, you're the reason the girls got back cool. Like, they were cordial. Like, they said hey and hello and hi, whatever to each other. But they wasn't besties like this clicked up until you started sending them messages. So, like, you literally shot yourself in the foot. Like, but we gonna move on. Cece don't make no type of sense to me because she was like, her reason for stealing the game from Mona was the fact that, you know, none of the girls were upset that Allison was gone or whatever the case may be. And whole time, mind you, Allison tortured these girls. tortured these girls, right? Even with all the ridicule and the secrets and the manipulation, these girls still sat there. They went to her funeral. They made her a memorial. They talked about Shorty daily. They talked about this girl daily. So I'm like, when Charlotte said that, I was like, I don't understand. Like, even with all the hell that Allison put them through, these girls still took time out of their lives to plan her a memorial, talk about her daily, make sure her memory lived on, and all that good stuff. Even tried to find out what happened to her themselves. But you sitting up here and saying that they didn't care about her? Lie again. And then the idea, again, plot holes. Them making, I'm going to put this in the plot hole section. Okay, yeah, we're going to move on. And then we have, and the whole time while, Cece is torturing these girls behind Allison, the way the flashback went, it meant, like, Cece assumed she had killed Allison because, the mom obviously, like, made her go home, and she assumed Allison was dead. Like, you knew you killed her, or you assumed you killed her before you, because, nobody knew she got pulled out the ground besides Mona and what's her face. Like, you assumed in your head, you had believed you had killed her. But you was torturing the girls. Like, you should be mad at yourself. You're the reason she's dead. What do you mean? I just can't. And then Alex Drake, oh my God, her reasoning was so daunting. Like, I understand, she was upset about Charlotte and this, that, and the third. Who cares? If anything, she wanted to be part of this friend group so bad. Had she made herself known to the girls, she would have easily been accepted into that friend group. Maybe not easily, but it would have been a lot easier to accept her, considering she had a clean slate with everybody. Didn't nobody know her. None of that. Like, she could have had a clean slate. They could have been like, okay, you know what? It's not your fault. You got put in a predicament. You got put in. And if they were going to do that whole Alex Drake thing, I felt like they should have added her to the show. They should have made her a character that we knew. Because when she came out, it's like, it wasn't even a satisfying reveal, because we don't know who this girl is. We don't know where she came from, who she came with. Like, girl, like, you showed her and we're like, oh, like, a plot twist should not be so out of left field that your audience isn't even, like, understanding where it came from. Like, a plot twist should be good that, oh, it's surprising, but you understand where it came from. No one understood where it came from. Like, come on, girl. Like, let's be real and let's be true. Like, Marlene just pulled that out her butt. I seen a fan video on YouTube that had made a theory that Spencer had a twin. I feel like Marlene stumbled across that video and decided, you know what, I'm gonna steal this idea, because not many people had seen it. People saw it way after, the episode had the series finale had aired. People ended up looking it up on YouTube trying to get an explanation, and they ended up stumbling across that video that was posted long before the series finale. Like, Marlene, girl, these motives are dumb. Now onto the plot holes. What I was saying about Cece/Charlotte, the reason it don't make sense, right, is in her flashback, she was a child when Bethany Young killed Toby's mother. But it doesn't make sense, because we know that when Toby first moved apparently as teens, his mother was still alive while he was a teenager. So that doesn't make sense, because Charlotte is older than all of them. So how can Charlotte have seen Toby's mother died as a child, but she's older than Toby and them, who were teens when Toby's moms died? You see how it don't add up? Are we understanding how it don't add up? Like, child. And then there's Wilden. Like, Wilden was so much on the girls, but from what we can see in the flashback, Wilden knows that Charlotte is the one that bludgeoned Allison, and then the mom was like, I'm paying you off to get my daughter back to the, insane asylum. And as far as you know, that's all you know. What the heck? Oh. Yeah, that's all you know. So, like, you knew who killed Allison, but yet you're so adamant about, like, I know one of you girls did it, or I know you girls know who did it. And it's like, why were you so adamant about that if you knew who did it? If anything, I would be trying to bury it. And even if he did know who did it, instead of trying to blame the girls, it should have been him trying to frame the girls. That would have made more sense in the overall thing. But again, Marlene doesn't plan out the show. Well, she didn't plan out the show. She was just winging it, and which is why a lot of the later stuff in the show doesn't make sense. Like, Ezra's surprised to see Arya in class, but apparently he'd been knowing who she was since day numero uno. Wilden is trying to find out who killed Allison, is on the girl's behind, but Wilden already knew who killed Allison and was there the night that she died. Like, what's real? What's really good? Like, what's the tea? Like, I don't understand. Like, I could go on and on. The messed up timeline, the character motivations being weird, the character, like, everything is just, I don't know how Marlene, you sat there, you had a book, a guide, a manuscript of page to page, line by line, dialogue by dialogue given to you with this book, and you decided, I want to do my own thing, and it completely mess it up. And now people have to look at you like, and now look at you, you're not about to be a part of this reboot, and that's sad. Because she could set up a good story. She just don't know how to finish it. But I don't even know if I'm going to really be into the reboot, because they got what's-his-face, the dude that made Riverdale making it. So, baby, I don't even know what I can tell you about that. But, like, yeah. Okay, y'all, I'm just going to cut the video off right there, because I feel like I can talk about Pretty Little Liars forever. I am thinking about doing a more in-depth video. We'll see how this one does. So, yeah, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to keep up with me outside of YouTube, I will have my social media linked in the description box down below. And I will make sure to see y'all in the next one. Oh, yeah, go ahead and comment anything I might have left out that you felt like should have been part of everything wrong with it. I do interact with my comments. And, yeah, I will make sure to see y'all next week. Bye. I want you with me once a while, won't we? And I